You know that feeling, right? When you share a good piece of news or boast about an achievement.
And almost immediately something goes wrong. A string of bad luck, a fall from grace, or one thing after the other.
Is it just a coincidence or is it something more? Or maybe just that you have been jinxed. Hello and welcome back to Pickle Insights Life Unlocked, a show where we understand the everyday topic, try and get our head around to stories behind them from health and tech perspective.
And today's topic is a interesting pickle around superstition, cultural quirks that does not have any explanation but does have an impact on our lives. So hey, I'm Pratik, your tech guy.
And I'm Priyank, a doctor in Melbourne, and today we are diving into similar such topic, the idea of being jinxed. Now that we have all heard the word jinx, what does it really mean, Pratik?
So traditionally, being jinxed refers to a situation where someone experiences misfortune after some significant event in their life, or when they share something positive, some good news about their current situation.
So it's like universe is punishing you for being too happy. Is it just a coincidence or there's something deeper at play here?
That's an interesting question. So let's dig into history a little bit. So the word jinx is thought to be originated from a superstition around wryneck bird, also known as the jinx bird. In the folklore, the bird is believed to have powers to curse people.
And that term eventually morphed into a common belief what we hold today, that someone or something can bring misfortune upon you by their actions or words.
So this whole idea of being jinxed, how did it begin?
Well, like most superstition, it's inherent in human desire to explain the unexplainable. We look for meaning or patterns to explain which are otherwise considered random or unlucky situations. In ancient Greece, people practiced some rituals to ward off the bad luck, like spitting to keep the evil eye away.
Across cultures in the world, like African cultures, Asian cultures, there are special gestures, even food to reverse or prevent bad luck.
The concept of jinxing may be tied to the idea of hubris in many cultures, the belief that flaunting the good luck or fortune will eventually attract the wrath of gods.
This belief was widespread in early civilization like the Greeks and Romans, and it can still be seen in modern day in many cultures.
So let's talk about some cultural practices around the world. We're saying jinxing has a deep historical root, but how does this practice play out in different cultures across the world?
Well, here is where it gets interesting. Every culture across the world has a very different way of dealing with this. For example, in African cultures, it's common to perform rituals to protect oneself from evil eye or the bad spirits. And if somebody shares good news, it's very common to perform protective chants to protect them from evil spirits. This belief is deeply ingrained in many African communities where the concept of negativity and jealousy is taken very seriously.
So on the other hand, in Japan, there is a superstition called kuchi bukimi, which translates into bad mouth. The belief is that if you brag about something too much, you might invite misfortune or a jinx upon yourself. So in this culture, saying something like, "Oh, I'm finally getting ahead in my life," can bring bad luck. So people in this culture avoid talking openly about their good news.
In Indian culture, it's a common practice of knocking on the wood or not sharing good news on certain days, not buying certain items on certain days. And in some cultures, it's often very common to recite prayers before sharing a good news or if something good happens in your life. Some people even wear red threads or charms to ward off bad energy. And in some cultures, sharing good news openly can be seen as tempting fate.
On the other hand, there's China. In Chinese culture, the numbers and colors often hold significant value. In their tradition, number 8 is considered very lucky. It signifies wealth and prosperity. On the other hand, number 4 is usually avoided because it's considered as a number of death. But also then people believe that sharing a good news before it's actually fully mature can often jinx it and then you don't get the results desired. And then there's a superstition that wearing red on special occasions is a protective measure against the bad luck.
In Latin American cultures, many people use the evil eye or mal de ojo rituals to protect themselves from ill wishing. For example, when somebody receives a compliment, it's very common to say gracias a Dios, which is thank God, to avoid any bad luck. Much like other countries and cultures, it's thought that being too boastful or confident can attract bad luck or misfortune.
Let's take a quirky trip to Italy. You must have heard of the very famous corno, a red-shaped amulet worn for protection. In Italian culture, corno is worn to ward off malaccio or evil eye, which is often attributed to jealousy or ill wishes. And just like many other cultures, Italian culture also believes that sharing a good news too openly can bring bad luck or can even jinx it. The corno dates back to early Roman civilization where it symbolized fertility, protection, and even strength. It's fascinating to see how this practice has stuck around for generations today.
Now in Spain, there's an interesting superstition around Tuesday the 13th, not Friday, but Tuesday. In Spanish culture, El Martes 13 is considered an unlucky day stemming from historical events like Spanish Inquisition, which was supposed to have begun on Tuesday. On this day, people avoid making big decisions, moving houses, or starting new ventures. And much like other cultures, the concept of evil eye is pretty common in Spain. People wear amulets, perform rituals to avoid the ill wishing of others, especially when they share good news.
And of course, in Greece, the evil eye plays a huge role. Known as the Mati, it is believed that people envy can bring bad luck and misfortune to those people who receive compliments or share positive news. And therefore, it is very common for Greeks to wear blue eye-shaped amulet to deflect the negative energy from jealousy. You will often hear people even spitting 3 times after hearing about somebody else's good fortune to ward off the bad eye.
Now, with modern technology and science, you might be wondering, how are these beliefs holding up over time? Well, it seems like superstitions like Jinx are starting to lose their grip on the younger generations, especially the kids in urban areas. They are starting to dismiss this old fashioned and irrational idea of being jinxed.
But here's an interesting shift. With the rise of social media and constant sharing of milestones online, we are seeing these practices coming back in play again. A 2022 study by Yang showed that about 60% of millennials in China avoided sharing milestones online because they feared the negative energy or being jinxed. Not to mention, it's also about safety and privacy about sharing online.
For instance, you could see many sportspersons these days carry some form of superstition with them when they are on the field.
And if you're a cricket fanatic, often we know the feeling when commentator has said something and your favorite player gets out on the next ball.
Absolutely, the commentator's curse is real. Let's talk about the psychological side of this.
Well, researchers believe that this could be linked to what we call self-fulfilling prophecy. What that means is if we expect something bad to happen after a good news, we may start to act subconsciously in a way that will bring that bad outcome.
Think about it. If you believe that you are being jinxed, you might start doubting yourself, second guessing your decisions, or even sometimes making irrational choices.
Absolutely, and those choices often leads to the bad outcome. It's not universe, it's not some mystical power, but it's our own decisions and effort.
So whether it is ancient Italian charm or Greek amulet or the red ribbon worn in India, the concept of jinx is deeply rooted in our society, in our cultures. Whilst it might not have any scientific grounding, but the cultural and psychological power of this concept is immense and it's undeniable. They reflect our fears, our hopes, and our human desire for control in a chaotic world.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for tuning in to Pickle Insights. If you have had a good news turning into a bad, or if you caught yourself knocking on the wood before anything happened, do leave us a message or give us a comment, and do tell us where you're watching us from. Let's keep this conversation going and stay lucky, don't get jinxed.